Greetings and welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at Magna Carta Mag 600, which is their flexible nib pen. I heard about this recently, so I've seen lots of video of it from different pen shows that show that it has very nice flex. And also, I think I saw one time an unboxing on Pen Chalet, but I don't see a lot of reviews on YouTube. So we're going to take a look at it today. So the pen came in this box, wrapped in a bubble wrap, very securely. It was really hard to get off. It was, I would say, one notch above the Chinese pens in terms of security and tightness of bubble wrapping. So it comes in this, and I try to take it off. The box looks like a matchbox. The old ones used to light up. And it comes in the second box. You can see the Magna Carta label and their logo. Now it's a little bit hard to get out. It's a little bit difficult to take it out. Initially it's very difficult to get it out of this box. You see I was excited, kind of ripped. And it's also difficult to get it out of this one. If you flip it, it comes out easier. And then we're greeted with this little box. And there's the pen. Before I move on, I would have to make a little comment about this box. This is a $380 pen that arrives in a box that looks like it was found on the street. I think Magna Carta needs to learn from the Chinese manufacturers like Asfine, and they need to improve this packaging. This is kind of embarrassing, to be honest. It seems like they're out of paper here, and then they attach a couple of papers together. Something like a 6-year-old would make for a school project, like a car or something. So right away there's something to improve, I think. And the quality of this looks super cheap. Which brings us to the actual pen box. You take the top off and you're greeted with the pen resting here. It's very nice inside. It's kind of full velvet kind of feeling. But what happens is that I usually take the pen out and try to reach underneath here and see, like, maybe there's some kind of paperwork. Yep, I ripped it off. Nothing here. I would not attach that here. Make it easier to take out and see there's nothing. But this was glued in. And then once you remove this, this is taped. Now I understand Magna Carta is not a big company, but this looks like super homemade. And as a business, you have to expect your reputation. You have to expect your customer's impression of your product to be based on your least common denominator, which is like the worst things that a customer would see in your packaging. That brings us to the pen. It's very nicely packed in this plastic. And the pen out. It feels good in hand. The one thing I notice is that right out of the box, this kind of looks like one of those vintage Waterman pens, but right out of the box, this is an ebonite pen, marketed as such. It actually smells like ebonite, so I have absolutely no doubt that this is an ebonite pen. But right out of the box, I see that there are many scratches. It could be polished if you like your pen shiny and scratch free, but something to take into account is that this doesn't seem like it's polished, and doesn't seem like it's polished well, because ebonite looks pretty rough initially. I guess some attempt is made to polish this, but a lot better job could have been done. Okay, so that brings us to the cap. The finial, there's nothing. The cap band looks great. feels like sharp a little bit. That clip is usable. Unscrewing this takes how long? Just about 2 turns. There's a little bit of a step down from the body to the grip section, and what seems like a number 6 nib is greeting us at the end of the pen. It is a plain 14 karat gold nib with Magna Carta stamping. It looks okay. It's basic. We turn to the feed. The feed looks like it's made of ebonite. It has the usual rough texture of the other ebonite feeds that I've seen. And unscrewing this brings us to the cartridge. This cartridge is marked as Schmidt cartridge, so that is a walkthrough of the pen. The one thing I have to comment on is this converter with a pen that's supposed to be a flex pen and put a lot of juice on the loose when you put it on the paper. I inked this up yesterday and I wrote maybe a couple of pages and it was out of ink today. So I wish there was a bigger converter, or maybe this could be eyedroppered, I don't know. There's no metallic pieces here, so I imagine one can try to eyedropper this. I'd probably ask the manufacturer though. Maybe a quick nib comparison. Let's compare this to Montblanc 149. Seems a little bit smaller than the 149, but much narrower. The feed is about half the size of the ebonite feed on 149. That's our comparison. How this nib performs on paper, which is the most important thing about this pen. Here we go. This is not my usual writing desk. I apologize for the poor lighting. Let's compare that to my favorite vintage flex pen, Conklin Endura. Just a point of clarification is that I have used the Pilot FA nibs, both of them, the one in Custom Heritage 912, as well as the one on Custom 743, which is number 10 and 15 nibs. They do a good job. The number 10 nib does better at flexing. Number 15 is better at day-to-day use. None of them really give a satisfying flex experience. The problem being that the larger number 15 is quite stiff, unlike this pen. It's quite stiff, and the flow on that one is also kind of questionable. The feed is not always able to keep up. The number 10 does it much better, especially if you get the ebonite feed that they sell, and also if you get it tuned by somebody that knows what they're doing. Those pens don't really fill the void of a nice flex pen. We can consider the vintage flex pens, such as my favorite, the Conklin Endura. Does an amazing job. Again, does a very good job. Keeps up. The feed on this one is just unstoppable. And this is Waterman Serenity Blue. So this is the ideal situation. But again, this is an older pen, and if something happens to it, not everyone can repair it. That brings us to this specific pen. This is marketed for around $280 to $350, and then add taxes and shipping and stuff. So for that price, I would say as a pen, as a flex pen that pretty much rivals the vintage flex pens in terms of flex, this is definitely a good pen. It does flex quite a bit. The problem that this pen is facing is that the feed just sucks. It cannot keep up. And then there's times that the feed works just fine, and you can't make it railroad as easily. So I don't know what the problem is. Maybe this needs to be tuned. I don't know what it needs to be done with it. I have in this pen Namiki Black, which is quite wet ink, but this pen railroads a lot, and then once it gets going like this now, for example, it works very well. The problem is that it's not very reliable. The vintage flex nibs are reliable writers. It's not going to do this. So the feed is kind of letting down this pen. So I hope that our friends in Magna Carta, they can tell us what ink this pen prefers. The biggest problem is actually when you just start using this pen, like after sitting out for a couple of hours, you take it out. It takes quite a while to get it going, and that is not something you want from your flex pen. So hopefully that gets fixed in the future. What do I like about this pen and what I dislike? I like that it is very flexible, true flex. It is relatively affordable. It's made of ebonite. It smells like ebonite. And the feed is ebonite too. It seems like that makes this a light pen. So the things I dislike about this pen are: number 1, terrible packaging. Number 2, long shipping time. Number 3, those are logistics. And number 3 brings us to the meat of the problem, is that inconsistent. It's inconsistent. It railroads even when you go slow. So this kind of paralyzes the pen. It's not a pen I would trust to take with me outside if I wanted a flex pen, and that is a big problem. And number 4, a pen that puts that kind of ink down should not have a 50-cent Jinhao style converter. This is one of the worst converters in the history of converters. Seriously. This is ebonite, and I don't see any metal work in there. Could this be eyedroppers? Maybe I should ask this question from the manufacturer. So the final negativity in my list is the customer service. I ordered this pen several weeks ago. The problem is not that they took a long time to ship this pen to me. The problem is that I never got an answer to any of my requests on the website for any information, like what's going on. I actually asked them to cancel this order, and no one responded to my email. No one got in touch with me, and one day this pen showed up at my door. I like it. Would I recommend this pen? Anyone that's into flex pens should experience this pen. It bounces back pretty good, on par with Custom 912 number 10 FA. It's not as reliable and confidence inspiring as the FA number 15 or one of the Mont Blanc flex nibs in terms of bounce back. So it's interesting. It's unique by itself. That needs to be experienced. I think this is probably the flexiest of modern flex nibs in terms of tines opening. I don't think it can give us wider lines than necessarily than the other modern flex nibs, but definitely much easier time spreading those tines. I don't mean to be too harsh on Magna Carta, but this is the feedback they need to receive. This pen has a lot of potential, but unfortunately is let down by a variety of negative aspects. I hope you find this interesting and entertaining. Please let me know if there are any questions, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.